Hey, welcome to another episode, another moment of writing music with me. I'm Borin Doulos. This is Borin Doulos Music YouTube channel. I write all kinds of music, various genres, and today we are focusing on a Christian worship song. If you tuned in last week, then you would have started this song with me. So it's a song that I initially had the idea for probably a couple weeks ago, and I began to write the chords and lyrics sometime in the past 2 to 3 weeks. But as far as actually writing the song, I did not sit down to do that until last Friday when I did my previous live writing session. And so what I did was I sat down with just a scratch track, recorded vocals and acoustic guitar in one track. Wasn't trying to make it perfect, wasn't trying to get it all right. I was just making sure I got each segment in a viable way. And in doing that, I gave myself the ability to chop it up, create kind of a format for the song, a layout, a structure, and then start building instrumentation around it. So, last week, I had recorded the drums, and then I finished editing them. I'm using an electronic kit. Show you here. Boom. Don't mind my sweater on top of the cymbals. That kit, the kick is a little funky with the carpet. It's not real balanced, so things get a little wobbly, so it takes me a little longer to actually edit the drums than I really want to. I record them in a MIDI format. So that's basically all I did last week. Scratch track and the drums. Then I finished editing them. And then I added some other stuff, so we'll go through that today. Let me show you first the scratch track. Kind of what I did last week. Now this song, again, it's a Christian worship song. It's about the Holy Spirit, but I use a lot of poetic language. I think I'll call the song Whisper in the Wind. That's what the chorus says. You're the whisper in the wind, and you give the breath a sound. You're lighter than a feather, and you're holding up the mountain. There's a lot of symbolism there. But we'll go through kind of section by section. I won't play the whole thing. I had, of course, an instrumental piece here, just acoustic. And of course, dynamics are not totally set yet. So some of these parts will be really quiet, others will be louder, and I have a gain cranked because for gain staging, I have this stuff relatively quiet. So you'll see my meter over here going a little nuts. Just ignore that. It's basically just for you, so that this comes through on YouTube pretty clearly. So there's an instrumental, and here's the chorus. This is the low version of the chorus.
You're the whisper in the wind, and you give the breath a sound. You're lighter than a feather, and you're holding up the mountain. You're the whisper in the wind, and you give the breath a sound. You're lighter than a feather, and you're holding up the mountain.
So that's one section. I kind of do this little tag.
You're holding up the mountain.
Then here's a verse.
Oh, the peace past understanding, given freely, no.
So I have this push chord.
Heaven,
A little bit of a build.
breath of life.
And it goes back to the chorus.
You're the whisper,
Kind of do that a couple times, and then I do a chorus high.
the breath of s- You're the whisper in the wind, and you give the breath a sound. You're lighter than a
And I got a bridge here.
Holy breath, make me breathe.
This bridge will likely be my wife singing it the octave up. It's gonna be really powerful. And then just a high instrumental to close with a last low chorus. And you'll notice just a little songwriting tip here. If you ever have a song idea and you're playing at home, piano, guitar, you're singing it, but you don't really quite know exactly how the song is going to go, you just have a few parts. What I strongly suggest, this has been a game-changing thing for me in terms of songwriting. So you see, I have these other things I've already started building out. They've got funky names, but drums, bass, pads, piano, electric guitars. But it all started with me recording a scratch track, and that's the key. What is a scratch track? A scratch track is a track that gives you the basic idea of what you're going to need to, what your song is going to be like, but you're going to scratch it when all is said and done. What does that look like? So I have this one track here, it's labeled Scratch. What I did was I placed one mic, didn't need to get fancy, and I played acoustic guitar, and I sang. Sometimes I'm a little pitchy. Sometimes my rhythm on the strumming is a little bit off. I think there's even one time I missed a chord shift. I didn't play a chord out of key, but I slightly missed the rhythm of the chord change by a beat. Those are things I don't really care so much about. And what I did to make it really simple and low pressure, and that's really the key. The scratch track needs to be low pressure because you don't want to spend an hour trying to dial in a scratch track and making it perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. So what I do when making a scratch track, again, piano and vocal, acoustic and vocal, you can do this with just an instrument at first and do the vocal after, but this is just a faster way to do it. I just made sure I hit every major part of the song solidly one time. Not perfect, maybe 80 to 90% of the way there. So in this case, I had a verse, a pre-chorus, a chorus. I had the chorus both in low form and an octave up, and I had a bridge. I also had a low and a high instrumental. So that's 6 different parts. So what I did was I hit record, and I tracked it. I never stopped the recording until I tracked every single thing. I didn't stop if I messed up. I didn't start over. If I messed up, I just kept it going. I had the click going. And then I'd pick right back up at the next beat to try to hit that piece again. Let's say it's the chorus, and I messed up the chorus. That's okay. I just keep going. And back on the one beat, I start the chorus over. And then I got it. So then I move on to the instrumental piece or the bridge or whatever comes next. So you might have a 10, 12 minute track, okay? And then what you do is you cut out all of the fluff. Let me show you a bit of what I'm talking about here. So let's just say that this is a whole track here, okay? Just zoom in. Clearly I'm messing up there, right? But I know right here, this other waveform where it looks pretty consistent, that sounds pretty good. So what do? I go to the beginning of that beat, cut, delete, boom. And I go to the end of this, 2, 3, 4, right? Just for example, cut, delete, boom. Now I've got that one piece, maybe that's a chorus, maybe that's a verse. And then I copy and paste, I use it to form the entire structure, play around with it, sandbox mode. Because again, if I don't have the whole structure, and if you do have the whole structure, well, it's easy. You just cut out the stuff you don't need, and you just squish it in order, right? You bring it in alignment, just cutting out the stuff you messed up on, but you don't have to shift things around. In this case, I didn't exactly know how I wanted the song to go. So I put this little instrumental first, then I put a chorus, which I wasn't sure if that's how I was going to start the song. And I built the format just like this. You can see all of these are chopped up pieces. They don't even need to blend perfectly, so here's me going between a couple of them. So you see clearly, I go from having no pick to a pick, right? It doesn't matter though, because this is a scratch track. In the end, this track is not going to be in the song. I'm going to re-record the acoustic guitar. That's where I'm going to aim for perfection with it. And I'm going to re-record the vocal on a separate track or separate tracks. And that is just what puts you in position in a 30, 45 minute, hour long, if you need time to place things, right? If you're doing creative stuff, as in, I don't know if I want the song to go like this or do this or have the chorus here or a bridge here, right? But by the end of it, you've got a relatively quick, and you could really do this in maybe 30 minutes, maybe even 25 if you're quick. Recorded 10-minute, 12-minute track. Maybe you nail it in the first try. It's a 6-minute track. And then you're done in 15 minutes, you know? But that's really the key, because then everything else I'm building, and I'm not done with this song, but everything else that I've put since then, I can now use in whatever form I want. Not only that, if I decide later I want to shift some things around, I can always move this stuff, right? But ultimately, this is how to give yourself the foundation, the cornerstone piece of your entire song can go to the scratch track, because then everything's placed in the right area. You've got a general idea of how it's going to sound, what you're going to sing, what chords you're going to use, what rhythm, what dynamic. And then it's all just layering instruments that help that already formed song come into more life. So, if that's helpful for you, make sure you hit the like button so that we can find more people like you on YouTube who might benefit from tips like this. Hit the subscribe button, because I'm going to keep putting out little tips and tricks for songwriting and mixing, mastering using Logic Pro. And we want to grow this channel. This is a pretty new channel. I'm also songwriting live every week. So hit the subscribe button, and yeah, let's grow together. So moving on to the next part of this song, I added the drums. And I won't play the whole thing, but I'll give you a little bit of a taste here. Now, it's important to know, this is not the way the drums are going to sound in the end. I've got roughly the dynamic right. I've got the sound, like the beats right. But I'll change the sample to something that I feel is more fitting for this song. So again, this is not the final sound of the drums, but this is just getting me writing. So you can see I'm a little bit off rhythm with the acoustic, but again, it's a scratch track. As long as it's not terrible, it doesn't throw me off, then I'm good. So let me show you an example of what I mean when I'm saying you can match the dynamic. So for me, the next instrument that came for this song was drums. I just felt I kind of knew where I wanted to go drum-wise, just based off of the acoustic and vocal track. So I've got a low chorus here. I'll go ahead and bring in the drums. And again, so I'm also not using the full sample that I'm going to use. So the drums are going to sound even better than this when the final mix comes along. But this is me putting all the MIDI in place, or the recordings. You'll see when I get to guitar in a second, that are kind of the building block, right? So this is going to be the beat. This is the finalized beat and dynamic. And here we go. So again, it was just this, but that gave me the ability to play around on the drums, figure out what kind of beat I wanted. Let me show you a higher dynamic one. Let's go to another chorus. This is a higher one.
You're the whisper in the wind, and you give the breath a sound. You're lighter than a feather,
So again, because I had the scratch track, I was able to use this to play off of and build the drum groove that I felt would be good for this. Then you go through and add whatever instrument comes next, and you could go section by section or instrument by instrument. In this case, I really felt like I could do the bass in total. I'm following the basic chords here. Right? Then I've got lead guitars. So let's go back to this section here. And the volumes are a little off because I'm gain staging a little different with the scratch track, generally quieter at this point, because I'm trying to keep levels within a specific kind of area between the instruments that will stay. But you see how I'm able to just build this song step by step off of the scratch track. So going back to this high chorus. So you can hear I'm a little off rhythm on this one. I'm a little pitchy sometimes vocally, but I wasn't worried about it because it's giving me what I need to build. Here's some piano stuff. Okay, let's go to this quieter chorus. You hear how in this particular place here, that piano is pretty important. Let's go to the end here. I got a little piano piece I'd like to show you. So I was able to use what I had to add this piano, and again, I just felt it out as I hit record, and I played through the whole song a lot of times, and then I'll stop at certain sections. If I found something I liked that I did, or maybe I had an idea coming in already, and I'll hit that section until it's refined. I also just added a pad here. See how much that adds? Even if you turn it really far down. So again, this is why it's so important to have a very solid foundation when you're starting out writing a song. If you're doing it singer-songwriter style, meaning this is just a lyrical idea you had and you were sitting down and playing your guitar, playing your piano, and singing it. This is really my favorite way to start building a song, is to just lay down a scratch track. I don't have to try to perform it. I don't have to nail it. So there's such a low amount of pressure that allows me to be relaxed, just wing it. If I mess up, I just keep the track going, pick it back up, and then I just chop it up, put it how I want it to be, and from there I can start building an entire song from scratch. So, again, vitally important stuff here in terms of how to get a song going. So what are we doing today? Well, it's a good question. It does need some rhythm guitar. there's a chance that I would replace some of this pad work with some strings. Not convinced that I would do that yet. But I think here. Okay. Let me actually get these cleaned up first. That's what we'll do. Okay. So what do we got going on now? Also, I've got some drums here. You can see I haven't muted. But let me know in the chat, or if you're watching after the comments, if you feel like drums should come in this soon. So let me give you a taste. So I'll play the intro, and then this is a first chorus. And I felt mostly like doing it without drums. But I don't know. It might not be the right call, so let me know. I'll play it first with and second without. So it feels pretty good, right? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat what you think. Now let's do it without them. And then we can compare. So let me know. It's a slower opening, right? The actual volume would be closer to this. So yeah, let me know what you think. Should the drums come in there, or should they stay out? I'm having trouble making up my mind, but I always value creative input because I can't hear it the way that anyone else is hearing it. Everyone else is going to hear it as the consumer, whereas I'm only hearing it from the bias of the songwriter. So let me know. I'll keep an eye out on the chat for that. In the meantime, Yeah, I feel like we need to do some string work. Probably before rhythm guitars too, because they'll get too far in the way. So these string samples that I'll use, these are just going to be stock samples for now. I've got really nice samples from East West that I'll use in kind of as I get more into the mixing process. But for now, this is just going to help me kind of dial it in. I feel like at first they need to be staccato. Let's see how this works. Gotta turn this latency off. Really dislike this sound. But it'll have to do for now. Start over. That feels like a good groove there. Yeah, I messed that up already. Alright, I missed one note there, and I got a little off at the end just because of it. I'm going to try to catch it. But I didn't. So, it's a good thing about MIDI, we can always fix it. Also, these are going to be very, very soft. Let's go ahead and quantize these. Oh, wow, I have this swing on. Ew. And we could just loop it. We have a clashing note here. So what I'm doing here is the guitar is more important. Vocal takes precedence, and then melodically the guitar, the lead line here for the guitar is kind of the next step in the priority chain. So I really liked what I did on the strings, but there were some conflicting notes. So what I've done is I've essentially moved the strings out of the way when the guitar is prominent. It's kind of like a dance, and the guitar is leading it. So, so here we go.